Well, welcome to the Inner King Initiative podcast, man. It's so good to be back. I took the whole month of May off because, man, we have to take breaks, and I wouldn't be a good coach if I wasn't an example of that. So we're back in the studio. I'm excited, man. As you see, we got a new setup. But I want to introduce my guest today. This brother, I've been seeing him everywhere. Right, his story is compelling, inspirational, and I just want to introduce you to this guy. His name is Aljenon Cooper. How are you doing today, brother?
I'm well, Adam. How are you?
Oh, blessed, man. I'm alive.
Good. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, absolutely, man. It's always good to see another brother sitting down talking and seeing them thrive, right?
Absolutely.
So tell my guests a little bit about yourself.
Wow, that's a loaded question. I'm Aljenon Cooper, native of Los Angeles, California. I am a husband, a father, senior pastor of the Miracle Hub in the city of Los Angeles. Um, Outside of that, secularly, I am an executive manager for a private aviation company.
Okay.
I've been with the company about 12 years now.
Mhm.
And God has favored me even in that because I did not complete my college education, but God allows me to make six figures now. And so I'm grateful to God for that. And just grateful for all the things that God's doing in my life.
Yeah, that goes to show you, man. There's always more than one way.
Oh,
You
absolutely.
do not have to take the same college route everybody take.
Absolutely.
Got a degree, but I see some people who don't have a good degrry and they're thriving. You're the
Absolutely.
prime example of that, man. And so, man, you're a husband, you're a father. How are you balancing all of these things?
Sometimes I feel like it's hard to balance all of it, truthfully speaking. But you just have to keep the main thing, and know that your family is important
Mm.
because at the end of the day, when all of the other things are gone, all the other people are gone, all you have is your family. And so making time for them is so important. Shutting things down, sometimes being intentional with my schedule, my calendar, canceling things or not accepting something to be intentional about making time for my family is very important because there's no peace if there's no if there's no happiness and time being spent at home. So you had to keep the main thing the main thing.
Yeah. And fellas, that means not getting that money at that point.
Right,
You
because I
might have to
can't be a
turn.
wonder out here in the world and
Exactly.
and be a blunder at home. So yeah,
Exactly. You might have to turn down a 10K, 20K for your family. It's just the name of the game, right?
absolutely.
But man, so you have two girls, right?
Two girls, Amari and Araya. They're 6 and 4.
Okay. How has parenting changed your life, especially with girls?
Man, listen, it has changed my world completely. My daughters are special, and I know every father says that about their children. I hope, but being a father has meant everything to me. Just to be able to come home and have them at the door screaming, "Daddy, Daddy, Daddy," and jumping on me when I come in the house, and wanting to play, wanting to spend time with me, creating those moments means just so much to me. And, I want to be able to give them kind of what I did not have when I was younger. And so giving them my presence, being present with them, and not just giving them presents
Mhm.
is very important to me. My daughters are true comedians. I think they get it from me, but I don't think I was this bad when I was their age.
These
My
people,
youngest daughter is 4, and maybe a week or so ago, she asked me, she said, "Hey, Daddy, do you know who did my nails?" I said, "No. No, baby, I don't know who did your nails." She said, "See, you don't know everything." And I'm like, who thinks of something like this? But yeah, this is my life.
but it keeps you up though. It keeps you
Oh,
moving
it
though.
keeps me going. It keeps me on my toes for sure.
Man, you say you wanted to give them a life that you didn't have. So how was your childhood growing up?
So, interestingly, when you see someone who's in ministry, you think they've had it made, everything's been good. A lot of times we see those who are legacy, those whose parents were in ministry. I didn't have that story. I'm kind of like Amos. Amos said that his father wasn't a prophet. He wasn't a part of the school of prophets, but yet the Lord chose him.
Mhm.
I was given up at birth by my birth mom because of the influence of drugs in her life at that particular time. And growing up, I didn't understand why I had to be the one adopted, why I had to be the one given up, why I had to be the one. Fortunate enough, I had a relationship with my birth mother growing up. I didn't understand why I had to deal with the broken promises from her. She said she was going to come get me. She wouldn't show up. Every time I heard something outside, I'd run to the door, but she wasn't there. There were times I would have dreams of the mistreatment, and I would wake up with my pillow wet with tears. And even I felt that my siblings that she did raise, she treated differently than she treated me. And growing up, that bothered me tremendously, and it followed me throughout my childhood because a lot of times we think we have gotten over a thing, but we sometimes we just move on from something. We haven't really gotten over it.
You mask it.
Absolutely. And it began showing up in different areas of my life, in, my adulthood, my relationship with women, and the whole nine, my behavior, how I was acting in school, my character. Until one day, the light bulb went off. We can talk about that later, but that was my childhood. And even though, I experienced some of this from my birth mom, she showed up when it counted. Graduations, birthdays, it may be late, but she was a great gift giver. But, I didn't want that as much as I wanted her presence and her to keep her word.
Yeah. Any parents out here, I always tell y'all, presence is better than presence.
Absolutely.
And this is a prime example of that, because I think a lot of a lot of where like the older generation of men messed up is it was work, work, work. There was a few that was actually like I had to be with my kids, but that whole like generation was work, 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 work.
Absolutely.
Right? And so when you're looking back at your story, you got given away, right? I know that created some sense of like abandonment issues for you.
Oh,
Right?
for sure.
Right? And so what about your father?
So I didn't meet my father until I was maybe 12 years old. It was interesting, and believe it or not, it was an easy coming together. It was an easy relationship build. Considering the fact that he was seeking to know me and find out about me and have a relationship with me. But my birth mom kind of gave him the runaround, as the story goes. But even in that, I mean, she wasn't really, my caregiver or my guardian at the time. So I can understand how that could be challenging or difficult. But, when my father came in my life, we built a relationship. If I don't think that you can make up for lost time, but if anybody could, he certainly did. He would pick me up from my mom's after school and take me places and spend time with me. And he was always giving lessons and telling me I need a trade and all of these things, investing in me. He taught me how to drive. He allowed me to drive on the freeway as a preteen. The one thing I regret, I didn't allow him to teach me how to drive stick shift, but that's almost a thing of a past now. Right, no, for sure. But we had an awesome relationship together. Not recently, but he passed away in 2002, excuse me, 2022 from pancreatic cancer. Thank you. And I miss him every day.
Okay. Yeah. So it seemed like in the last, since you were 12 to 2022, it's like God collapsed time and gave you everything you lost.
Absolutely.
That's beautiful, man. And so I'm guessing all of this led you to write your book.
Yes. Most of it is what led me to write my book. The Lord gave me this book title in 2014. And I didn't write nothing until 2020. I wrote one chapter, left it alone. 2025, I picked it back up again at the end of 2025. And then I wrote the last 4 chapters, I want to say in one sitting in January. And the rest is history. But that's definitely what inspired my book. One day, I think in 2014, the Lord just spoke to me after I'd done some healing and said that, he gave me the title of the book, but then he caused me to know that if I wasn't given up, if I wasn't adopted, I wouldn't know God like I do today. And so that's why I can now say, kind of like David said in Psalm 119, around 7, verse 72, David said it was good for me that I was afflicted, that I might learn your statutes. So if I wasn't given up, if I wasn't adopted, I wouldn't know God like I do today. So in 2014, that's when I kind of realized the path God had me on and what his purpose was for my life. And I just accepted the fact that I was given up on purpose.
Okay. And so do you, I want to, before we get into the book, I actually want to talk more about like your relationship with God.
Mhm.
What was it like meeting him for the first time and realizing like you're here with me?
I'll never forget it. The first, I grew up in church. So I guess rewind. God was in the plan the whole time with
Okay.
me being given up. At the age of 4 days old, he placed me in the home of a praying woman, a loving woman, a woman that would love me like her own, surrounded me by a family that would accept me as one of their own. As a matter of fact, some of them are closer to me than they are to some of the cousins that are, actually blood. And so God was in the plan the whole time. And so I grew up in church, but the first time I experienced the presence of God was probably around the age of 12, 13,
Okay.
maybe 14. I was sitting in my room at home. I was watching the Azusa Street Centennial Revival on television, and they were praying, and I just began praying. I've kind of always been around prayer. My mom grew up with her praying in the home. I'd always, kind of follow her voice and come kneel beside her. But it was in that moment in my room, just me, God, and the television. And I experienced the presence of God. And in that moment, there was not a doubt in my mind that God was real.
Mm. See, kids know.
Oh,
kids,
for sure.
kids know. There be some mornings I wake my oh, I don't really wake him up. He already be up. Like I'll get my son ready for school.
Mhm.
He's like, "Oh, I'll just read my Bible." Like, huh? Because for me, I didn't grow up like that. I didn't
Yeah,
grow up, in the church and everything. So for
mhm,
me, yeah, I'm finding him on my own, right?
absolutely.
And I guess like now my kids are watching. And that's a
Mhm.
testament that kids are always watching you
Oh, for
first.
sure.
So whatever you're doing, make sure you're doing it with integrity and just holiness,
Mhm.
right?
Oh, yeah,
But back to your story, so God has played a really big foundation in how you move today,
absolutely.
for sure, right? And so with your book, I really want you to get deep into like your story of it.
Mhm.
Like somebody's asking you, why did you write this book? What is the story behind this book? What would you tell them?
I believe it was important for me to share my story because God does not allow us to go through things without purpose, without reason. God wastes absolutely nothing.
No.
Everything that we go through, it is on purpose for a purpose. And I wrote this book because once I got to a place where God allowed me to be able to start telling my testimony, you'd be surprised the number of individuals who have come to me and said, "Your story is my story. You helped heal me today. You helped me to forgive today." Um, and I mean, even as recent as last week, I was ministering in Colorado, and a young lady came up to me afterwards and said, "Your testimony resonated with me because I'm adopted too." I was preaching somewhere probably before I started back writing, and a young man, I needed someone to play for me because I was preaching outside of my church on a Sunday morning. I didn't want to pull my musician, and someone connected me with a guy. I didn't know him, but he knew me from another service or something. And I was sharing my testimony, and after church, he told me, "I lost it while you were testifying." He said, "Because I just found out the lady who I thought was my mother." This is a grown man.
All right.
The lady I thought was my mother all my life. I just found out she's not my mom.
Mm.
And so to be able to connect with individuals, to be able to offer hope and healing to people, there's nothing I get greater joy from.
Mm.
Being able to, I believe when God allows us to go through something and we tell that testimony, the Bible says we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and by the words of our testimony. When we share what God has brought us through, we release that same power to happen for someone else and to be active in someone else's life. So if I testify about how God healed me, I release healing for someone else.
Mhm.
And so that's what I know that I've been called to do. And I never thought in writing a book that God would um, just allow me to have the success that I've had thus far in selling the book. There were so many voices in my head trying to discourage me from writing. You know, ain't nobody gonna buy this book.
Right.
I'll never forget one night I had finished writing.
Mhm.
Pastor John Hanna of Chicago wrote my foreword for the book. And even with that, that was like a faith moment right there. And the enemy trying to discourage me.
Mhm.
Um, all week, I was going to see him all week. I said, I'm going to ask him. The Lord gave it to me. I said, I'm going to ask him. I'm going to ask him. Maybe the day before, the day of, I said, I'm not finna ask this man to write this forward. This man ain't finna write this. And I convinced myself not to ask him. And I was sitting in service, and he got up, and he literally preached the whole first chapter of my book.
Mhm.
I said, okay. I said, I hear you, God. I said, I'm going to ask him. I asked him. He said, I'll make it happen for you. So fast forward, he writes the forward. His secretary sends it to me. I attempt to go back into the document. I've been using the Pages app on the MacBook for years, no problem.
Right.
I started this book in 2020, no problem. And so there was an update that happened. I had to update to the new version. So I went to the new version, no documents nowhere.
Ooh.
I go back to the older version, the documents are there, but I can't open them.
Mhm.
Not only can I not open them, but every PDF that I saved, I can't open. And so in that moment, I said, well, maybe I just don't need to release this. And I got so frustrated, but my mind started going. I just took the manuscript that I sent Pastor Hannah and I copied and pasted and had to go through reformatting and everything. But I'm glad that I did it. It was worth it all.
Absolutely. Everything, your test is your testimony.
Oh, for sure.
And so even with the roadblocks, even with the self doubt, because that's really what it is. It's
Oh,
the fear creeping in.
yes.
Is that's why Romans 12:2 hits me so hard. Renew your mind daily because you
Absolutely.
have to build that mental strength to keep going.
Yes, sir.
And even with writing a book, if you haven't written a book, I'm gonna tell you it's hard. I'm in the middle of mine. I done got to chapter 5, and I'm like.
You're almost there.
But it's like, all right, I gotta keep picking up and keep going. Even
Absolutely.
if you gotta take a break, do it. You took a long break. So
Right.
during that journey of writing this book, that long break, what have you learned from that?
Oh my goodness. So much that I've learned. Um, God is gracious. He gives us the grace that we need to finish what we started.
Mm.
Because I abandoned it many times. There were times that I sat there and looked at it, and I didn't feel the inspiration to write. But then when it hit me and it was on me, I couldn't stop writing. And even in what made me, get back into writing, I went through a journey of almost reliving kind of my experience. Did some ancestry testing and, different things happened and came out and I'm learning things. And so someone asked me, what was harder, living your experience or writing about it. And I feel like writing about it was a little more difficult because, I had to live it twice.
And you got to be vulnerable about it too,
Absolutely.
and actually be honest and open with yourself.
Yes.
But I would say too, sometimes he'll give you a directive, but it's not for that moment.
Oh,
It's
absolutely.
for you to see if you're gonna get started. Then when it's time, you hit that conviction, you
Yes,
get going.
sir.
It sounds like what happened to you. But I know you said God is a real. I want to go back a little bit because you said God was really big in your healing journey, right?
Absolutely.
So what did healing look like for you?
Whew. Healing for me looked like not rehearsing old hurts. It looked like me giving up my right to hurt in order to receive my healing. Many times when we go through different things in life, we have every right to be bitter, every right to be angry, every right to be unforgiving. We have every right to be hateful. It's our right because you don't get to hurt me and tell me how to respond to you hurting me. But I had to be willing to give up my right to hurt in order to receive my healing. Me living in it was not going to bring healing. Neither would it have brought wholeness. It just probably would have brought more anger. I can even remember during 2025 and some of these things I was discovering and finding out. God has a way of bringing everything full circle. Now I am kind of responsible in helping to take care of my birth mom, and
Mm.
she places me over some of her affairs, and uh, it's a Genesis 50:20 moment. God really turned it around for me. But something happened, and I come to find out more things, and I said, the little devil over my left shoulder told me, "Go empty that safety deposit box out."
Mhm.
But of course, we cannot allow the enemy to dictate our actions and the things that we do, and we have to learn how to forgive what we forgive. And so, I did not allow the enemy to win or get the upper hand in that moment. I had to do a heart check. I always pray, Lord, search my heart, because I don't want something to be in there that I thought that I had moved on from.
Mhm. Sound like David in Psalms. Can't remember exactly which one it was, but
Mhm.
in Psalms. And
Yeah.
man, that's good because it reminds me of Jason Wilson's story. I don't know if you heard Jason Wilson's story,
Mhm.
but he talked about how his brother died and he felt abandoned by his mom. But then in the flip side, he had to take care of her in her last days.
Mhm.
And even now, I didn't have a really good relationship with my mom either growing up. She was present, she was around.
Mhm.
And like now I can see her slowly like, hey, I need you to take care of this. I'm like, okay, now I gotta take care of the person who hurt me the most.
Right.
And that's a healing journey inside of itself.
That is a test from God.
Mm.
How are you going to respond? How are you going to treat them the way they treated you? Or are you going to do the right thing? I just preached about that yesterday. Actually, I talked about Joseph and
Mm.
how his brothers betrayed him. And long story short, when Joseph was in the palace and he's now the governor, and his brothers have to get in the food line during the famine, and Joseph is in charge of the food distribution.
Mhm.
Joseph recognized them, but they didn't recognize him. And I believe the true test of Joseph's character was in that moment, because he could have responded to them the way
Mhm.
they responded to him. And so I believe God always places us in those situations,
Mm.
because it builds character for sure.
Yeah, it's a testament for sure. It definitely does. And then it's like you have to be careful not to answer what hurt.
Mhm.
I laugh sometimes. Well, it's not really funny, but I laugh sometimes because when I'm on social media, I'm scrolling, I see people in their responses. I'm like, I can tell that's from hurt.
Mhm.
I can tell that is from a place
Absolutely.
that isn't healed, and you need to go get that checked out.
Right.
And it's like, how do you say that to certain people? But when you're going through your own journey, right?
Right.
Like fun fact, I didn't want a wife and kids growing up
Mhm.
because I didn't see a healthy marriage. And
Yes.
I never knew why until maybe last year before last.
Mhm.
And now that I have that, it's like, oh man, I needed this.
Right.
And I was telling one of the guys in my community the other day, I said, hey, sometimes God will give you things that you don't want, but you need it in order to get to your next level.
Right.
Right. And you talked about parenting, how your girls, have really changed things for you.
Mhm.
So how are you in your healing journey, right? How are you managing healing while parenting? I think that is a hard task.
Absolutely. It is a very hard task. But my focus is on kind of not so much on me. I've kind of always been like a selfless person. I try not to, I have to be reminded to consider myself in a lot of things.
Most men.
Right. So, showing up for them, being present for them, being present in the moment with them is so important to me. And it's always a driving factor, and making sure that my girls have a family unit, a whole family. I want them to see me loving their mother. I want them to see me being there and providing for them, and not just running footloose and fancy free all over the the country, which is so important to me, and to take their feelings seriously,
Mhm.
because they understand, they know. They may not know everything, as my daughter would say. You don't know everything, but
But they know.
they know what they know.
Mhm.
And so, I don't want to just be the disciplinarian or the mean parent, because they'll tell me that in a minute. You're mean. Girl, I'm
I
not
got
mean.
that too.
I'm not mean, but
You just
yeah,
not
no.
listening.
That part. If you're watching at home, you're not listening. So,
We're adults too. God be talking, we don't be listening.
Oh, for sure, for sure. And so that's kind of how I approach parenthood while healing.
Okay. So what about you as a husband? Because I
Oh,
know, and I can tell from experience too, man. When you've gotten that mother wound, that's what I call it. It's difficult navigating relationships with women.
oh, for sure. You hit the nail on the head. Like you, I didn't want to get married. I was having a real good time,
Real good.
having my having my cake and eating it too. Um, and so it certainly, affected my relationship with women. Um, I had to go to therapy actually. And in therapy, I discovered and saw some things about myself that I wasn't too pleased with. And I'm grateful that God gave me a good woman. There were, I said at our appreciation service not long ago, there were many contestants, but many that wanted to play the role. But, some people, they want to be with you for the aesthetics. But I'm grateful that God gave me a solid woman that loves me for me. When I didn't have much, she was there by my side, and she, walked this journey out with me. And so I'm so grateful to God for that. And we just celebrated 8 years on the 2nd of June.
To 8 years?
Yes.
Okay, nice. Y'all, you're right after me. I was 8 years in April.
Wow.
But definitely to your testament, man, finding a good woman that's one of the biggest decisions as men we make.
Absolutely.
Because even like you, when it was nothing, she was still there.
Right.
She was still praying. Like I was telling you before we started, like my wife came in the studio and she looked around. She was like, "Yeah, this is you.
Absolutely.
Let me pray over it."
Right.
And in that moment, I was like, "Oh, I'm covered." All right.
Absolutely.
But it's like as men who are going through the hurt and we're healing from like our mother wounds and stuff, we gotta think about that.
Yes.
But when we're getting it, it's when it's like it starts to prick your heart a little bit. You start to soften up. I know for me that was a struggle, softening up.
Oh, for
I
sure.
didn't know how, right? And most men don't. But at the time, you have to realize that not only are you dealing with your own things, she's dealing with her own things too, and you have to help her get to that.
Absolutely. I wasn't trusting. I wasn't vulnerable. I wasn't transparent. I was, I guess, I'm hard to read for a long time. I remember she always say, you're hard to figure out and all of these other things.
I know what you're thinking.
Oh, yeah.
I get that one a lot.
Yes. I'm like, I ain't thinking nothing. I'm not that wonderful. I'm not thinking anything, but my mind's always going.
That's good. So 8 years of marriage, what would be some advice that you would give, especially for a guy who's walking into it, who's dealing with abandonment issues and things?
Make sure you're ready. Don't allow anyone to pressure you into getting married. And this is not for anybody else. It's for me. We were together just a day short of 5 years before I proposed. Okay. And I knew I loved her. I knew I wanted to be with her. But I felt like inwardly something in me was not ready for commitment. And I did not want to move forward into that and not honor that. And so it wasn't until I knew I was ready. I fasted, I prayed, and I couldn't see myself living without her. And that's when I made that step. But again, don't allow anyone to pressure you into moving fast. I get nervous when people want to move fast because I feel like they're hiding something. Right. So, this ain't speed dating, speed marriage, but yeah, I would say, make sure that you're healed. Make sure that you have someone on your team that can walk that journey with you, someone who will be a part of your purpose and your healing journey, and work it out that way.
And now you guys are 8 years later. You're expecting another one. Praying for a boy.
Praying for a boy. I need all the intercessors in every corner of the earth to join me in praying for a boy, because I'm not going to tell you how embarrassing I was at that last gender reveal. We had like a barrel of confetti or whatever, and all that paint came out, and I looked up the barrel. I don't know what I was looking for, but I
That
just
blue.
knew something was. I'm looking for the blue somewhere.
Mhm.
Yeah,
But yeah, hey, regardless, you're gonna
yeah,
love them. But I could
yes,
tell you, having a boy and having a girl, felt like it was two different. It's two different sides of fatherhood,
hmm,
right? Because the girl is like you're naturally gonna be softer, you're gonna love on them a little bit more. But with the boy, is like, okay, I'm gonna be soft, but I gotta be stern too. I
oh
gotta
yeah,
be
for
rough
sure.
with you. But it's opposite in my house. I have two. There's two girls and one boy,
Hmm.
and the girls are they're rough. They want to fight. They want to jump all over
Oh,
me.
that sounds about
And
right.
then when I mess with him, he's like, "No, Daddy, stop!" I'm like, this is so backwards.
Hello.
And for me, growing up, I was
Be
one
like
of
your
the rough ones.
sisters. Yeah.
Yeah, like why they scared? Like the 4-year-old is running up. He's 8. My son is 8. And the 4-year-old is running up, and I'm like, "But you're running away! Like, come on!"
Make it
But
make sense.
because I grew up rough like that. That's
Hmm.
how my household was, and I didn't even realize that we never got told "I love you" until 2020 when I was in New Orleans with my brother, and he said it.
Hmm. Wow.
Right. And I was like, I had to think back. I said, man, that's crazy. And I'm realizing now I have to love him how he is. He may not be the
Absolutely.
rough and tough. He might be the nerd kid
Right.
who wants to read books, and that's exactly him. Right.
Absolutely.
But how are you navigating the different emotions of the women in your house?
Whew, it is a lot because it's a lot of them. My youngest, I'll start with her. She's the one that'll run up and she'll square up and she wanna to fight and she wanna
Again.
tickle me and she wanna play and and I start playing with her. Most times it ends with her crying and
Yep.
it's just like, oh my God, why did you want to play with me if you
And they keep coming back.
right? And I mean, it's her definitely her love language because she is so just on 10 all of the time. My oldest, she's a little quiet than my youngest, but she's my spitting image. She looks just like me, um, and she kind of acts like me too in some ways. She loves to read. She loves to spend time. She like to eat what she like to eat. She want to go to her little spot she like to go to. But she's a little on the sensitive side. She's kind of coming out of that, a little shy and timidity. She's timid. She's coming out of that slowly but surely. I remember the last couple of years, different programs we go to at her school, and she just cry and do not do anything that she's supposed to do up there. I'm like, I'm gonna stop coming to this. But if all you're gonna do is cry, but I say that in my head, but I still show up,
Sure.
and she's gotten so much better. I'm so proud of her. I had to bribe her with some yogurt land, but
Sometimes you have the problem.
it works. It
It works
works
sometimes. I just need you to do it. Come on.
absolutely. And my wife, she's on the sensitive side, but she's very strong,
Sound
willed,
like my wife.
alpha female, but she's just a teddy bear, really. She's a seer. The Lord deals with her in dreams, and she's able to just pick up on different people. I'm like, I don't think you're right. She called me Mr. Benefit of the Doubt. I said, I don't know about that. I don't think you're right. She'd be right. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's flipped for my house because
yeah,
for me, I'm the one who sees things, feel things, get the dreams
mhm,
and everything. And I'll tell my wife something about somebody, and then she'll come back maybe like a couple months later. You were right. And I think the other day we was in the house, and my mom has my kids right now. Praise God, right? And
hallelujah.
so we've been just kind of just working and reconnecting and everything. And the other day she said, you just be knowing stuff, and she was like, there's so many occasions where I realized that you say something, I don't listen, and then it comes true. I said, "Oh, what did you learn? Did you listen, right?" and so it's funny to hear it on the opposite tip. Uh, but that's good, man. 8 years of marriage, you got kids. How has fatherhood changed in your perception from what you knew growing up to you actually being in the role of a father?
Oh, um, so much. I unfortunately did not come from a home that. I'll take that back. My mom that raised me. I had a mom and dad. He passed at an early age, so he died. My adopted father died in 2006. I want to say. So most of my life, or the rest of my life, I grew up without a father in the home. So it's a different dynamic, and just to be able to give my girls both for their parents in the home, loving each other, supporting each other.
Healthy family.
Um, it makes a world of difference, and I believe that's one of the greatest gifts that I've always wanted to be able to give my children.
Oh, absolutely. Your presence. 'Cause there's a stigma that black men don't take care of their kids, and that's not true.
Oh, that's a lie from the pit.
From the deep pit.
And even with some of the cases where, you know, unfortunately, maybe the dad and mom aren't together anymore. You see a lot of stuff when you pastor. I got some members even now, and I try to get through to her, but I don't know what it's going to take. But there are some mothers, unfortunately, that weaponize their children
Whew. I was a
to
child of
get at the child's father. And so the child's father doesn't do something that she likes. Oh, you're not about to see your kids. I've seen it firsthand within the last few months. And so
it's
I don't, I don't understand. That's something I'll never understand. And 9 times out of 10, those kids grow up and they resent their mother for doing that.
I am a testament to that for sure. Because my mom did that.
Wow.
My parents they got divorced when I was like in the second grade, so about 8, 9,
Mhm.
and so I actually witnessed the divorce and domestic violence in the same night.
Right.
I witnessed the whole thing. Watched my dad get stitches and everything, and I built a resentment over my mom because it would be little things like my dad got tickets to the Astros game and was like, "Hey, I'm gonna pick up the boys and take them." She's like, "No, it's not your night. You can't do this." And I'm like, you missing out, you taking away
Right.
opportunities. And like I know right even now to this day, she don't understand. But I'm like, that affects kids
Mhm.
more than it affects the man you're trying to hurt.
Absolutely.
Right. Because you're taking away quality time, bonding time.
Right.
But even now, like I said earlier, God collapses time, he give you your time back. So now I can forgive her and still hang out with my dad as an adult.
Right.
Right. And now we can have more fun.
Right.
And so but hey, ladies, 'cause I know y'all watching, y'all nosy, right? Let that man see his kids. And fellas, fight for your kids. You have way more rights than you realize you do, right? And so going back, because I want to go, we've been talking about the good stuff. I want to go back to the
For
bad
sure.
stuff, right? In the midst of like filling out all your abandonment, like how was it going through that?
Oh, it was terrible. It was something I probably wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. Just feeling unwanted, feeling rejected. Um, you know, I think I just gotten to the place where people not keeping their word don't really bother me too much. But that would just tear me up. You talking about dropping somebody quick, fast, and in a hurry. Um, it was a lot, dealing with a broken identity. Um, but even in the midst of all of that, God still gave me everything I needed.
Mm.
And so many times we can be so guilty of chasing something else that we think we want, not understanding and embracing what God is giving us that we need in that moment. I had to realize that sometimes you're better off with a person's absence than you would be by their presence.
That's a
Um, you know, my grandfather, my birth mom's actually her stepfather. Is one of those ancestry discoveries, which actually led me to doing my ancestry. He told me that he wasn't my mom's birth father, which I didn't know until maybe a year before he passed. Um, but he said, one of the grandson, one of the best things that could have happened to you was you not being raised by your mother. And so many times we so want people to be in our life and to be with us and to go with us. And, we're going to ride this thing till the wheels fall off. But sometimes there are people that are only assigned, as I said before the show started, there are some people that are only assigned to go with you so far. Everybody is not meant to go all the way with you. And so once I learned that, once I came to grips with that, it didn't affect me the way that it affected me before.
Okay. So what at at what moment did you really fully release and forgive your mom?
I would say it was in year 2008. I was seeking the Lord to be filled with His Spirit, uh, and we were coming up to a shut-in at our church. And I was the youth pastor at this time, serving in Shreveport, Louisiana. Shout out to the Bryant Temple Church of God in Christ in Shreveport.
318.
And I was youth pastor, and before the shut-in started this night, it was a Sunday night, I'll never forget it. We had a youth department meeting. So YPWW was going on. It's our little Bible institution time on Sunday night. Then we would go into Sunday night service. So while all that's happening, we're in the fellowship hall having this meeting. And I was serving with two older ladies at this time. And for all intents and purposes, I don't think they meant any harm in what they were doing. But because there was an unhealed part of me, I believe that was triggering to me.
Perspective.
This meeting turned into what I felt like a verbal attack. Because when you are a young man, I was, a sophomore, junior in high school? Junior, I think.
16, 17.
Yeah. So, when you're a young person and you're really trying to live for God and you're trying to do all that you can for the kingdom of God, and someone's coming to you telling you what you're not doing right and what you need to do and what you need not to do and all these other things, it becomes troubling, especially when they're not doing as much as you were. But that's another conversation for another day. And so that really played on my emotional side. So I stayed there at the shut-in that night, mentally checked out. I was physically there, mentally checked out. My mind totally gone off of what I was there for. Stayed there all Sunday night, Monday evening, I go home to refresh. And I just began crying uncontrollably. I don't know what was going on, what was happening with me. I mean, tears streaming down my face. I don't have to use my analogy I use in the West Coast, but like this rain do out here and how it just streams down the windows, the tears were streaming down my face. And I said, God, whatever you're doing in me, I want you to do it totally and completely. And I'll never forget, I came out into the living room and Joel Osteen was on the television. And he said, God is going to shut, because he was had to be talking about Daniel. He said, God is going to shut the mouth of all of the lions in your life. And in that moment, I believe God used those tears, that crying, to bring about healing and wholeness to me. Growing up, a lot of us are taught not to cry, to man up, toughen up. But that's where healing is.
That's the release.
I actually preached a message shortly after I came out of all of that, and around the time God was revealing my purpose to me, I preached a message. It made me cry, but it didn't make me quit. And actually, that became a T-shirt, so don't get any ideas for those of you that are watching. Trademark. All right. So, but yeah, in that moment, that was healing to me.
Man, that's why your story is your testimony, surely. But in those moments, because see, a lot of times, and back to what you said about crying first, that's healing.
Oh, for sure.
And being told not to cry, not to.
Sometimes it's better to cry than to go off and blow up. And
you need a good cry sometimes.
Yeah,
but that releases the stress.
Yes.
The stress hormones in our tears is really helpful. And it's not, don't cry in front of everybody, but you can go off to yourself. Go off in the closet, prayer closet, do what you have to do, right? And so now you're on stage and you're having this moment and you're forgiving, you're finding out your purpose. Did you start writing your book again during
Absolutely.
that time?
Yes. Began rewriting, or not rewriting, but I began writing again. And it just became almost, I felt like I was receiving another dose of healing, honestly. It was so good to be able to sit and to write. And the book was, it was always there. It was always in me.
Everything we need is
absolutely. And so just to see that coming out, there were nights that I cried. There were nights that I worshiped. I thanked God. because God is so amazing and he doesn't have to do the things that he does. And I'm very cognizant and aware of the fact that God doesn't have to use me.
Mhm. But
He
you
didn't have to choose me. There's so many people in the world, and God could have used anybody else. And I never want to ever take that for granted. And so, you know, those nights were filled with gratitude and joy and thanksgiving, and just to see the impact that the story, the book is having on individuals, I'm in awe.
Mhm. So when you're getting your feedback, is that healing for you as well?
Oh, absolutely. I feel as if my purpose is being fulfilled
Mm.
in those moments.
Seeing the fruit.
Absolutely, seeing the fruit of my labor. I've had individuals tell me, I've read your book twice. I'm sitting here crying, reading your book. I can't put it down. Um, just all the things that I've heard. It has been such a blessing to me just to know that God could take this little boy that was born in South Central, grew up in South Central, born in Inglewood actually,
We're gonna say.
uh, who came from a broken situation,
Mhm.
but God was in the plan the whole time, and so I'm just in awe.
That's good, man. Because I feel like he calls you first,
Mhm.
and then it's like you have this wilderness period, but then you
Oh
start to
yes,
walk into the purpose, and that's when the real healing begins.
right.
Because even with like me as coaching, I'm getting feedback from the guys. I'm like, man, like, okay, God, I see what you're doing,
Mhm.
and I can tell it's the same thing for you. But I definitely want to go to like your life in Inglewood, because when people talk about LA and they talk about Inglewood and all that, you know what they say, right?
Mhm.
How was your experience compared to what they said outside of like being given up and everything?
I had a good experience. There's no place like home, of course. It wasn't perfect. There were,
There's no
right. There was, things that would happen. Apparently, when I was a baby, that's when the whole Rodney King thing happened. I remember none of that, but um, there've been things that have happened around us, but thank God it's never happened, you know, at our doorstep, pretty much. As a matter of fact, I think the closest danger that ever got to us when I was living in Shreveport, there was a uh,
Shreveport is one of them places.
there was a lovers quarrel, and the guy who was on the losing end of the stick came and killed both the lady and the husband and set the house on fire to try to cover it up. And it was right across the street from me. I'm like, oh my god! But no, it was interesting. I never had to really deal with gangs or anything like that. I think I got pocket checked once walking home from school in middle school, but I never really had a bad story or a bad experience growing up.
Okay, because I kind of result like the gang life to kids feeling abandoned,
Yes,
right?
wanting
Because they're not getting
acceptance.
love at home, so they get in
Mhm,
the streets. And but for you, it's like you got the abandonment, so you felt all that, but you didn't
mhm.
go to the streets.
No, thank God. I never, drinking, smoking, partying, streets never was appealing to me.
Mhm.
Now,
You were set apart already.
yeah, the women was appealing, but that was about it. Yeah,
Hey, because we have to go through our phases, right? Because
absolutely.
you have to go through it in order to learn, in
Right.
order to get to the other side of it. But man, this has been great for sure. Anything you want to share about your book, or anything you want to share about your story? Um, let's do it like this. What would be your message to the world? What is your message to the world?
Oh, my message to the world is that God wastes absolutely nothing. He knows how to take good out of bad and bad out of good and cause it to work together for your good. Everything that we go through in life, it will not be good. Paul never said that everything would be good, but he did assure us that everything would work for our good. If you've ever felt abandoned, if you've ever felt forsaken, forgotten, if you've ever had to ask the question, why me? I would strongly urge you to obtain your copy of Given Up on Purpose: How God Uses Rejection, Abandonment, and Pain to Reveal Destiny. This book will offer you healing and hope. and it will let you know and remind you that, again, God wastes absolutely, positively nothing. He is absolute God. He knows what he's doing. You cannot always see it while you're going through it. Life is lived and forward, but is only understood in reverse. Yesterday in the message, I said that God is building in our now what we need for our future,
Mhm.
but it becomes frustrating for us because we can't see in the future and we don't understand or know what God is doing. And so sometimes some of the things that's happening to us in our right now doesn't always make sense. But the songwriter said we'll understand it better by and by. So keep going, keep moving. Purpose is not something that you find, it's something that you follow. And so keep walking into your purpose. Know that every step is significant, every step is important. It's not a side of your purpose, it's a part of your purpose. The things that hurt you the worst, it's a part of your purpose. So keep moving, keep going, and God will certainly allow you to have that same experience I had where that light bulb goes off and things will just begin to make so much sense to you.
Oh, man, that's powerful. It hit me honestly because as you were talking, I was reflecting back to when I first started building, my whole thing, and I started in the midst of darkness, right? I was still trying
Man,
to figure out.
man, you finna make me you finna make me preach in here now.
No, I did, man. And but like you to your point, I didn't understand
Right.
why I was in that season
Mhm.
or why it's like, okay, you called me to do this, but why doesn't it look like
Right.
that? Right.
Right.
And it took me a while to get here,
Right.
right? To get to this space, to be in a studio,
Right.
to, sitting down with people talking.
Right.
But that's a testament. Keep going,
Right.
right? You never know. And like I said earlier, your purpose comes when you take the steps, right?
Absolutely.
But I do want you to go ahead and start preaching though.
No, a few weeks ago, God gave me a word, develop in the dark, developed in the dark.
Mhm.
So many times we look to the light moments, the happy moments, the getting married, the having children, the graduating, all those were good moments. But it is those dark moments that help develop us into who we are.
Mhm.
It for me, it was, having a miscarriage. It was, when my car was repossessed. It was me losing my father. It was in those dark moments that I had to really sit with God. It was in those dark moments that I learned who God was. It was in those moments that, God was developing in me who I needed to be. Because in everything that we go through, either we're going to allow God to develop us in it, or we're going to allow the devil to destroy us because of it. And so we have to choose to allow God to develop us. Because, as you said, me dealing with rejection, I could have easily turned to the streets. I could have easily, turned to gangs and different things, but I allowed God to develop me in it. Andre Crouch, one of the greatest gospel composers, said, I want to thank him for the mountains.
Mm.
I want to thank him for the valleys. I want to thank him for the storms that he brought me through. If I never had a problem, I wouldn't know that God could solve them. I wouldn't know what faith in God could do. But through it all, I've learned to trust in Jesus. Through it all, I've learned to trust in God. And so we have to trust God's process, trust his timing, understand our timing is not God's timing. Some of us thought we would be much further along by now. We'd have the
Preach
house.
on the beach by now.
I'm telling you, we would have the husband, the wife, the house, the career, the six figures by now. But know that God makes everything beautiful in his time. So just give God his time.
Absolutely. One step at a time. And it's gonna be hard. 'Cause
Absolutely.
like you, there was days I cried building this. There was days I was like, man, I don't want to do this no more.
Right.
Like even to this day, some days are still rough, right? But
Mhm.
it's continuing to keep going. But I
Absolutely.
definitely want to thank you for coming all the way down here to even sit down with me and have this
Absolutely.
conversation, man. It's been great. I've learned a lot. I definitely want to read your book, right? Because I mean, I already had an interest in it before today, but it's good what you're doing. So I'm thanking you for being a man of color, bro, who is stepping into his purpose and actually letting God mold you. Because like what you said, it reminds me of Dark Knight Rises is my favorite movie. And when Bane said, "You were merely adopted to darkness, I was born in it and molded in it," I keep that one. That's my favorite one because I'm like, that's really
Now
how
you
it
finna
is.
make me go home and watch this.
Even from birth, if you think about it, we're molded in darkness in
Absolutely.
our mother's womb. So it's like darkness is the place you're supposed to go to, but a lot of people are scared of the dark because they're scared to find themselves in it, not knowing The you that's in the dark is the you that you need in the light.
Adam, you sure you're not a preacher that's hiding as a podcast host?
Nope. Nope, nope, nope. You know what's crazy?
I see very well.
You know, God keeps putting me around pastors and ministers. And I'm just like, hold on. But everybody says it like, you sure you ain't got a gift? I'm like, I don't know. I'm still discovering it, but this is my lane right now.
Mhm.
And maybe, I don't know. Me in the pulpit, I don't know about that yet.
Don't rush it.
I'm not.
Every person that is called is it's not always to the pulpit, but there's certainly a calling on your life. And I would always say just begin in prayer. That's in prayer where God, births things and develops us. He gives us information in prayer where we can't get anywhere else. So, yeah,
I'll keep that.
absolutely.
Prayer is definitely important, but I'll keep that.
So,
Come on, God. But again, brother, thank you for coming on, man. Hey, guys, if you have not checked it out, my community is up and running. We've been going for some months now. A lot of transformation is happening in there. A lot of guys we meet every Saturday. We're actually doing a Bible study on Wednesdays now. So check it out. Check it out for sure, man. And let them know where they can find you.
Pastor Adam. Yes, you're able to find me. I'm online. You can go to my website, www.adlcministries.com. I'm on Instagram and Threads at Aljenon Cooper, as well as TikTok at Aljenon Cooper, ALJENONCOOPER, on Facebook and YouTube as well. You can search Aljenon Cooper or ADLC Ministries there, and it would be more than happy to connect with you. If you desire to obtain a copy of Giving Up on Purpose, you can, of course, get that from my website, but it is also available on Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, Apple Books, Google Play Books, your robo devices, and pretty much wherever books are sold.
Fellas, life is hard. We need people to teach us and to learn and to teach. We to teach and to learn because there's twofold, right? And remember, always to rise no matter what. There's always going to be obstacles no matter what you're doing. It's never going to be easy. So above all else, just continue to rise, kings. And until that, I'll see you guys next week.